All right, guys, this is going to be a quick update for today. Generally, the videos go for around 30 minutes, but I nearly wasn't going to make a video today. But with the last 24 hours and the extreme fear and negativity and FUD that's been going across X and YouTube and all these altcoin specialists that had promised altcoin season for the last 1-2 years, with meme coins basically dead, the whole believe in something coming right down to earth, I think it was only worthwhile that I put up another update video today. Not much has literally changed from yesterday. However, there are some pretty decent signs in the traditional finance space that have continued to tick up. Before I get to that, hit the like button. As soon as you jump on the video, sometimes I even forget to do it. That's why I just make it a habit. When I jump on a video, I like what the person generally says, click the like, share it with a friend. That generally helps out a lot more. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So we've got traditional finance to get through, obviously the macro stuff, Bitcoin, altcoins, and the sentiment data. Now I've got my timer set. It is going to be a much quicker video than usual. The thing I want to emphasize here is this is kind of those feelings at the low. However, if you make the wrong decisions at the low, and it sucks because there are going to be right and wrong decisions, you could be just holding your tail all the way up when other things are doing relatively well. At this stage of the lows, and the point I'll make here is you want to be finding the stuff that is going to look like it's moving. You never know for sure if they're going to move, whether it's going to be something strong, but generally around those lows, that's what you want to do. Now, overall, everyone's bloody free to do whatever they want with their money. If you want to keep holding meme coins, you want to keep holding that altcoin portfolio, so be it. Don't listen to some guy on the internet just because. Go back and do the research for yourself and check out where those lows come in and whether it's worthwhile holding on and seeing any sort of gains to the upside. Is it going to be worthwhile? And be honest with yourself. You don't have to write it in the comments. You don't have to write it anywhere else. Just be completely honest with yourself in terms of where did you buy and what is your average price. If you were buying a lot at the tops and a little at the bottom, your average price is going to be a lot higher. And that goes for meme coins, goes for altcoins, it goes for anything that you buy. If you're buying a lot higher up and a little lower down, just because you say I could buy the low, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a fantastic average price. You don't have to prove it to anyone apart from yourself, because at the end of the day, it's your bank account, it's your profits, and it's your losses. So that's entirely up to you. Now, as I looked at yesterday, this is what it feels like to be at a bottom. And then I looked at how risking it all at this late stage, destroying your gains. A lot of messages in that around basically trading and investing overall and what I think is happening at the moment and the way I'm playing the game. Same sort of deal the other day when I popped up this video. We're facing the beginning of the end. Of course, being, if I get my charts here, the winner's curse phase of the market. Things are far more volatile, at least in feeling and in some regards, the markets as well, at this stage of the cycle, the winner's curse phase. It's because we are starting to head up a little bit quicker. This is not referring only to altcoins. It's not even referring to altcoins at all. This is referring to US house prices and the economy. And I believe we've started to see that now in a more amplified manner with Trump being in, right? Whenever the guy speaks, something seems like it breaks. The beauty about this at the moment is that the market is climbing a wall of worry. This is the S&P 500 futures, so the E-mini futures. At the moment, it's Wednesday, it's getting very close to hitting a new all-time high price. We had tariff fears, deep-seek fears, whatever, something else fears, right? There's always something that happens. And right now, fraction away from another new all-time high. The other chart I had here was the S&P 500. So the cash market here did hit a new all-time high price and a new all-time high daily close. That's this bar here on Tuesday. Happened after President's Day on Monday, so there was no trading there. Friday and then Tuesday's data there. Now I've got this particular line here. This is kind of one of those segments where, well, not segments, signals, better use of words here, that I'm looking at for a breakout, a confirmed breakout. And when that happens, let's see if this thing goes parabolic again. This is the logarithmic chart with the highs and lows factored in here, basically from the GFC or pre-GFC top in 2007 to the GFC low in 2009, connected to the 2022 low and the 2022 high, basically, a day or two within that year. So at the moment, the S&P 500 trend is at the top of this range. Obviously, markets go up or down. So anyone that wants to reference that, by all means, take your time, put it in the comments. Obviously helps out. Yes, they do go up or down. Thanks, Sherlock. At this stage, they either hit this as resistance, get rejected, and come crashing down. Now, we've got plenty of space to the downside here. August, 5,100 points. There's plenty of room for this to move and still remain in a macro uptrend and not break any of the significant structure. The other thing it can do is go up. And if it goes up and remains above this, it might, and what I've seen in the past, especially when markets tend to break out of logarithmic resistance, is that they start to increase, let's go this way, increase the speed of that move. Now, because it's on logarithmic, that means that the numbers are going to get bigger faster. And that's what we've been talking about for years on the channel when the majority of others were talking about recessions, right? Winner's curse phase, things start to go a little bit crazier. If it goes up, you're going to see bigger swings. Stay with the market. You don't have to invest in it. Just follow something, just track it over and over again. And maybe that market for you is BTC. So in terms of the S&P, if this happens, I'm waiting and seeing whether we do start to push harder and faster above this resistance. And it really has hit its head on this resistance multiple times. And I'm getting prepared for another explosive move to the upside. It can be entirely wrong, but anyway, we'll cross that bridge if it ever comes to that. NASDAQ is getting very close to another new all-time high. NDX hit a new all-time high. So again, the cash market here for the NASDAQ. And the Russell 2000, not really doing too much here, lagging as per usual, and it'll probably play catch up at some point. So I said this video is going to be quick. We just need to do an update here. Fear and greed, so the sentiment overall for the traditional markets is now at neutral. And is it neutral at a new all-time high price? Isn't that weird? Like if it was in crypto and it was hitting a new all-time price, it'd be at least in greed, generally not too far away from extreme greed. But for some reason, the traditional markets still don't have that sentiment around it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And that might be a good cause or a good case for why we could see this start to explode to the upside. I don't know how long it's going to go on for. I've obviously got my own time frames, and we'll just keep following the price action. There's no point in trying to force a top here, like try to say this has to be the top that comes in at this date. Some of the sentiment trader info and data here. This one here we looked at briefly yesterday, but I thought it'd be interesting to bring up the data itself. Stock market meets Valentine's Day. So basically, how much has the S&P 500 gone up through that period? S&P 500 closed on Valentine's Day with a year-to-date gain of 4%. So basically, the market's done pretty damn good in that first 6 weeks. Historically, gains of 3% or more by February 14th have been a positive sign for stock prices during the remainder of the year. Here are the data points, S&P SPX percent after Feb 14. Lot of data points, which we like. Up 3% or more by Feb. 30 times the stock market has been up. So this just carries on from what I was talking about with the S&P 500 hitting new fresh all-time highs in the last 24 hours. Up 30 times, down 2 times, meaning the percentage is 94% potential. We're going to see higher prices in 2025, which backs onto the decennial cycle analysis that we have been covering for you guys for several years now on the channel. Winner's curse phase, of course, pushing up even higher. These are symptoms of the end stage of the peak. Here is your 14 years. These are symptoms towards the end. Basically, people realizing that they are late to the party. They got to jump on. They don't necessarily always think that they're late to the party. They think there is a lot further to go. So they might have this sort of FOMO where they're thinking, all right, I can get in now, and there's going to be a lot more to go because of what I'm seeing with the this time is different. Well, they don't think it's this time is different. Maybe they do. Anyway, The point being is that it could be this time is different for them. We've got Trump in, he's doing all these things with tariffs, yada, yada. Yesterday, we also looked at global markets hitting new fresh all-time highs. So everything is playing either catch up or leading or just heading up into new fresh highs. Yes, I know that this cycle itself, this chart, is based on US house prices and US economy and the US economy. It's not necessarily only referring to US stock prices, but of course stocks are also going to move in that period. And we've seen strength with the financial sector in the US as well. So interesting stats here. Average percent, 15% up. Median is 14. So maybe we get a 14 or 15% move for the entirety of 2025. The max that it's ever done is 37. Number of times greater than 10%. 22 out of those 30 times it's done more than 10%. So pretty phenomenal stuff, just looking at the data here. One more is the Mexican stocks triggered a breadth thrust. Obviously no one, well, not no one, but not many people care about the Mexican stock market. The only point I'll make here is that we're continuing to see stock markets around the globe also stretch to new fresh highs. Here it is, the Mex Bowl pushing to new fresh highs, and the breadth thrust between the stocks themselves, you're starting to see more of those pushing higher as well. Fear and greed index, and looking at these lows of the market. Fear and greed for CMC, because we have to cover this for some people, this indicator is fine, but this indicator is better. The crypto fear and greed index, the original here, is now in fear. So we got 44. Yesterday was at neutral, last week fear. I found this to work a lot better, but if you find the other one to work, great, use that. This is something that, you know, we've been talking about now since those peaks, and it just seemed like the market needed more time to reset, and reset it did. So it was coming down off these highs, and through this period where we hit a new all-time high in December, you had lower sentiment. It hit another new all-time high on the 17th, or even on the 15th, 16th, and 17th. Volume was dropping off, interest was dropping off, and sentiment was barely, struggling to hold around the 80s in the extreme greed. Then it dropped off again and again and again. We had one attempt above, another brief attempt above here, and then it's basically dropped off from that point. Now, the flip side to this is that we're still in a very, very tight trading range for BTC. High to low, the first time was 18%. High to low, the second time is 16.6%. That could go further, of course, and if it does, looking towards the lows here at 89K, that's 18%. Looking to the lows at around 85, I think that is, around 22%. So that's basically what Bitcoin's done most of the time throughout this bull market, 22%. And if it came all the way back down to the 50% of the range at 79K, 27.5%, which is still less than what it did in 2024. So plenty of support to the downside, and it would still hold in a macro bull market position here. As I said with yesterday's video, this, to me at least, this is what it feels like to miss a bottom. You know, if you're sort of getting out of the market here, or capitulating, or getting annoyed with altcoins and meme coins and all that sort of stuff, sort of hating on yourself and just saying, screw it, I'm done. It's the same sort of feeling that happened in September of last year, that happened in August, that happened in July. Maybe not so much in May, because it needed a little bit more time to play out, but you could definitely see it in 2023 as well, as it was grinding down into June, and definitely September 2023. That was a pretty difficult time. August, September, hit that low and then started to grind higher from there. It happens every time we get a little bit too blown up in price. So look, can I say advice here? Because I'm not suggesting to buy any coins. The advice I would give here is to remain with the markets, not any one in particular, but to get a gauge of the overall markets. Watch your total cryptocurrency market caps, watch the Bitcoin chart, and that'll give you a pretty good idea of where the sentiment is sitting and whether we're entering or getting close to some sort of low. Now, this has some good sights of a potential low, but nothing has been confirmed yet. That's why I'm still cautious until I see any sort of signs that this is going to reverse here. And as we've looked at, in terms of the percentages to the downside, roughly from where the price is now to the low of yesterday's bar is 2%, to the low of this bar on the 3rd of Feb is 4%, and to the low of the current low of this whole trading range is only 6.8%. But the sentiment goes stupid. It goes really, really pear-shaped very quickly. Like you could see yesterday, it literally dropped 2 or 3% to that low and then closed back up. And it was like all hell broke loose. Everything sucks. And of course, that's because more of these altcoins were getting absolutely ripped apart, especially the memes just got destroyed. Before we get to that, let's have a look at the liquidation data and some more crypto data here. 350 million, so it is starting to creep up again. So we are seeing a little bit more liquidations come through. That's what we want to see in order to claim a low. The exchange volume is dropping off again. It's at 46. Let's see what happens in the next 24 hours, whether we get the data for the 17th, 18th, and whether this ticks up a little bit here. It's still above the previous lows at 30 billion. So until that breaks down, we don't have to be overly concerned. Lower highs, lower lows, still in a downtrend, so not ready yet. And the same thing for Google trends and the words here of Bitcoin and crypto, still trending a little down here for BTC, just 1 point up for crypto. So until that starts to turn around again, it's just part and parcel of the current trend to the downside. Now, the USDT dominance has continued to creep higher and found support at areas Bitcoin or crypto bulls don't want to see it find support. Need to get those words out. There it is. It's looking like it wants to test 4.75. And the reason I keep tracking this is because I would we would see that Bitcoin and cryptos will continue to fall if this keeps tracking a little higher. And at the moment, that seems to be what's going on here. Got to get past 4.6, 4.7. It's getting close there. So here's the first test. Now, if that breaks and we get higher, then I'm looking towards 5 to 5.2%. And that is really going to shake things up quite a lot. But you'd have to see, I'm guessing probably something in the top 10 altcoins, something break and go down heavily in order to get this dominance back for USDT. ETH could be one of those. It hasn't broken back past 2,900 yet, but it's putting in a little bit of a tight trading range here to 25. So again, just a brief update. You had the day up and the day down, not much happening. It has done this in the past. So we saw that in August last year, nearly 6 months ago, kept testing and then broke down, came back to test that low. Ideally, you don't want to see that because it's really just a weaker move here. But if it can keep holding up, keep putting in these higher lows and eventually get back past 2,900, then that the ETH has got another day in the light, even though there's a lot of influencers talking about how big hands, big players are buying up more and more ETH. Maybe they are, but at the moment, they're basically selling off every time it gets to around $36 to around $4,000. And they're just basically dumping it. That's why we've got this double sort of triple top pattern at the moment. Solana has broken down now past the $180 level. You can see a couple of these lows here at 170, 169, 175, and we got a close under that. Yes, the volume increased, so it could be ready for a bit of a temporary pause. However, Solana needs to, if it does bounce, it's got to get back above 210. 210, to me, at the very least, previous old top from March, it's above this swing top here, which is basically where it got rejected. That's on the 10th of Feb. You can see the market comes down, tries to rally, gets rejected. So selling pressures coming in at 210 again. The 50%'s at 202. And then you could stretch this out to look for the current 50% level. This will have to get moved if this price continues down further. But for now, it's sitting around 228. So if the 50% does come out somewhere around 211, then I suspect we're probably going to come down into the 120s and test that level. It's just something that I've seen in past historic back testing where with the 50% level, sometimes it lines up almost dead on with where the market had been rejected from the first time. You can go back and do that yourself, test it for yourself, see how you go. But yeah, if it does do that, that'd be pretty incredible if it gets into somewhere around the 130s, 120s. But yeah, you're likely going to see some sort of bounce eventually, just because of how much fear there is out in the market and how much FUD there's been spreading with Solana and lots of different things coming up. Of course, obviously a lot being sold with meme coins. You've got the unlocks of Sol and FTX, all sorts of things, right? So any sort of bounce here, unless it gets above 210, is what I'm calling, then it's just basically a bit of a weak bounce. And finally, I'm just going to look at SUI, still holding above 50%, but no confirmation yet of a bounce and consolidation above $4 again, which was the significant breakdown. XRP just under the 50% at 260, but still in a reasonably good position, all things considered, still above $1.80. DOGE, bit of a day down here, still holding those levels. So this is after the last 24 hours of people getting absolutely crushed. Still above 20 cents, which is that low, and 18 cents is a pretty strong support level if it continues to find its way lower. I'd still want to see it above 18 cents for some strength there. And ADA, also down yesterday, but still above that swing bottom on the 9th, and the previous low there at around 50 cents. So that's a overall look at the markets. Last 24 hours, a lot of fear out there, but overall I'm not too concerned here because of what I've shown with the traditional finance space, but I would be concerned if I was in some sort of weaker altcoins, maybe too much of my portfolio being invested into these altcoins, which are absolutely destroyed all the way down, long way down there, 90%. And you can just go through a whole list of them here. That's where I'd be looking at what my investment strategy is moving forward from this point. More coming up. Like, subscribe. I'll see you guys back here at the next video. Thanks again for sticking with me, and I'll catch you then. Cheers.